How to Achieve an Agile Software Architecture by Martin Fowler. So, what's Hello, I'm Chris Dennis. I'm a KMP developer, tech support said. They're coming up Tuesday for that for sure. I haven't watched this yet. I haven't even given it a thumbs up yet. I'm going to give it a thumbs up right away. From Dev Two's name, simple. How to Achieve an Agile Architecture. This is a very difficult thing. And for my opinion, it depends on the context and people and like getting to know them and how they work and what they're trying to do, as well as the context space, whatever thing you're trying to build, the domain. Yeah, and like understanding how all those things put and the customer and the problem and the solution, all those things. And yeah, it's that's a difficult thing to put together, and the software to put all that stuff together, which libraries to use, and which technologies to use, and all that other junk here. So let's see how does he say? Can we do it in 2 minutes? I think let's see what happens.
And this is, I think, one of the interesting shifts that you need to make when you think of things in terms of an agile context as opposed to the traditional one. In the traditional context, what do we do at the beginning of the project? Well, we want to make all the important decisions
What?
because we have to get all those decisions right early on.
I mean, we usually would have some sort of view about what we're trying to build for who, why, right? We have some sort of thing, and we don't just don't build things at random anymore. We don't build it and they were coming. That was cool back in the 90s, but now we actually have to have a customer kind of in mind before we venture in the journey. So that means that we have to have developer skills, we have to have some knowledge of some customer base and some problem that we can get involved in, that we can do efficiently enough so we can get money from these people to support the operation and not just do charity.
But in an agile context, you want to kind of do almost the reverse of this. You want to say to yourself, how can we stop things becoming architectural? How can we make things, and what I mean by that, how do we make what seems like an irreversible thing reversible?
Oh wow, that's a good trick. So I don't know if he's going to mention Alan Kay or Yugo Buryinko. Like almost none of these guys ever do. But yeah, this is kind of a solved thing. If we've just listened to what Alan Kay was talking about when he was talking about object-oriented programming, he didn't really mean the objects is the thing, or the class, or whatever the heck you want to call that, or instance of a class. That wasn't a thing. It was messages, sending messages, and having APIs defined. You can't go circle around the thing. You can't go round back and go, we're gonna do a direct plug-in static variable. No, you can't do that. So you have to have everything wrapped inside of the cellular membranes, and have messages being passed to them. Yes, you're going to have to deal with performance issues, but these machines are fast enough now. We can optimize for that. When Alan Kay was producing it, he had to produce a piece of hardware at the time wasn't there yet. But his ideas were spot on, and they're covering what if you want to make the irreversible thing reversible, you got to put layers behind APIs. And what's the API? What are the boundaries? That's the trick, isn't it? What are the boundaries? What are the layers? What is inside of what? Where does the line connect? And I go into this in my course, how to program from the ground up, which is free, of course. I'm not selling anything. My time, yeah, I'm not selling anything. I have nothing to sell. We just want to star on my silly course. It goes into how these things are split up and how they never mention it. Let's keep going.
So one great example of this was, again, an early ThoughtWorks project. We were one of the early projects that was trying to use an agile approach with traditional relational databases. And a lot of database people said to us, well, you can do all this agile stuff on the code, but the database schema has to be defined at the beginning because it's a right pain in the neck to change.
Isn't that great? So yes. So that's been the problem with trying to do some of this agile stuff. A lot of these languages and systems and these how these database programs are set up was with the assumption that you would write it once in the beginning and not change it. So it was designed with the writing of it and the executing of it to be primary, not the changing of it and modifying of it. That was an afterthought, and all that stuff came later because that's how this stuff progresses, right? It's like, can we even do these things on a computer? It's like, yes, we can. How do we do this? So we do it like this. And it's like, okay, well, how do we make that more efficient? So it's the writing of it, right? And the executing of it. It's like, how do we make that more accessible? Okay, you got to be standardized, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, now how do we change it? They go, yeah, we didn't really. That wasn't really part of the thing from when we were just trying to get this thing done. So that was not been a real priority. All right, we can deal with it. All right, we can deal with it. We'll do the migrations. We'll figure out a way to do the path and the migrations, and then that'll be solved. We can actually move forward with that. It's like, okay, I guess. I mean, it's sort of. Let's keep going.
So you've got to fix that. You've got to go through and get a full data model. I remember being in sessions where people were trying to come up with these data models. But fortunately, we were saved by one of our colleagues, promoted.
Yeah, they want to build the whole cellular structure with this all this interlinked stuff, as opposed to like APIs behind these things. So they're trying to build the whole network as opposed to building APIs. If you build an API, then you can do all that stuff later, right? You can have teams break that stuff up. But where do you define the edges? That's kind of needs to be done, but ultimately one person. The one person has to define where these things go. They can listen to input, but it has to be ultimately one person's responsibility to get those APIs right, or at least make it so we can rapidly iterate on it and not be bought in. It's like, okay, this is it. This is the last one. It's like, no, we'll try this one, and we'll see how that feels, and then we'll do another one, and we'll see how that feels. And if we don't have budget for that, well, we hope we get it on the first one. And as soon as if we get product market fit, we know that we're gonna have to probably scrap this and do a 2.0, and that has to be part of the script, part of the whole thing. It's like, we know we have $1 million in that code base, we can't scrap it. It's like, no, we have to scrap it. We didn't. That was not built to be extended or understood or changed or modified, or it wasn't even documented. So we have to start over. It's like, that'll be 2 years. It's like, well, maybe if you keep changing it in the middle time, if we just build what we have already again, and then from there we might want to do some changes. We can rebuild the last thing, or we can build something new. You can't just rebuild the new thing and build something new. It's like you have to pick one. They don't want to pick one. Okay,
at Algae, who questioned that whole approach and said, well, you say the database is hard to change. Well, let's work on that. Let's try and figure out how to make it easy to change.
Okay.
And he came up with a scheme that said, well, the database gets modified by a series of migrations. So each migration is very small. It might be split into...
I haven't read this. I haven't watched this before, so that's why I thought it was going to go in this direction. Let's keep going.
A single field into 2 separate columns or something of that kind, or moving a column from over here to over there. And every change not just changes the schema, but migrates any data within that. So you have the necessary DDL to migrate the data. And then that way, you can change the schema steadily all the time. And you might have a database out there in production, but you can still change it to a new version by running the migrations. And if you've used tools like Liquibase or Rails migration...
Oh, and this never goes wrong, by the way. It looks good on paper. And with small numbers of columns and rows and syncs, yeah, you can kind of get away with it for a little while. But if you try and base your whole entire scheme of your whole entire business, of your entire operation on how this, you're going to be in nightmare mode. It has to be contained. You're gonna have to listen to Alan Kay. You're gonna have to listen to the Russian Yegor Bogoyenko, who don't care nothing about politics at all, but he knows a lot about how to implement the ideas that Alan Kay was talking about. He's the modern Alan Kay, with showing code examples and how to do this and how to think about it, and lots of lectures and lots of diagrams and lots of talking about it, so we can get it through our thick skulls what Alan Kay was referring to, so we can get the next and actual computer revolution. Because the thing we're on right now is built 50 years ago, and it was not fit for what we're trying to do, what we do with it, and it needs an update. And that'll be the next computer revolution, is the Alan Kay stuff. Let's keep on.
Or things like that. You're familiar with how this scheme works now, and in fact, this is how we work on pretty much all our projects, right? Yeah, we're still doing it. Good. But that was because of the fact that Pramod said, well, let's take something that's seen to be irreversible and make it reversible. And what does that do? It means that the database schema is no longer an architectural concern. Right? It's no longer hard to change. The best architects remove architecture by figuring out how to make things shiftable.
I mean, you still use another piece of architecture. What are you talking about, dude? No, you had another thing on top of the thing. You didn't get rid of it. Wait. You didn't get rid of it. You just replaced it with something else. That's not you're still there. You just put a thing layer on top. It's still have to be managed. It's supposed to be used all those migrations. It's not just automatic. Those things are all hand rolled, man. I mean, they might have a tool that helps you with it, but actually doing the migration, how many records are we doing? 1 trillion records? 100 trillion records? Did you think I was talking about 1 trillion records? You're probably talking about 1 million records. I'm talking about 1 trillion records. This could take weeks. It could take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You're saying it's fit for purpose, and all I gotta do is little migration handle it. Okay, okay, Martin Fowler. I just like let's see the code from them. Some of these people, maybe he does. Let's see some of the studies about whether techniques that he's talking about work or not. These guys are famous for 15 years now, 20 years. They should have sponsored or had sponsored some sort of independent study that showed their techniques are the way to go. And I don't. Do you see it? If they have, put it in the comments below because I haven't seen it. If they had it, I know they'd be talking about it. That's the thing. If they had these things, proof that the way they say to do these things is an improvement over just trying to figure out how to do it. And these are just ideas to think about. Versus, I've never heard of these guys before. We're just going to do our own way and do our own methods and maybe listen to Alan Kay. And before this guy even these guys even came around, it was Alan Kay. It was pushing the solutions out. The stuff they're like, no, a migration language. And it's like, we don't need to worry about the database schema. Yeah, you do. You can't get rid of that. All right. All right. Thanks for listening to your rant. Give me a like and subscribe. You can click the original if you want to, and give them a like and subscribe. All right.